I declare this meeting open for the transaction of any business which may properly come before it. The city of Moose Jaw is located in Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. The Nahiawak translation of Moose Jaw is Moso Tapskin and is the shared landscape for Indigenous peoples and settlers from around the world who call Moose Jaw home. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. We're committed to move forward in equal partnerships with Indigenous nations with respect and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. All councillors are present this evening. The first thing is the confirmation of our agenda. I'll need a motion that the agenda for the regular meeting of City Council on Monday, June 10th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Logan, seconded by Councillor Froese. All in favor? That is carried. For public acknowledgements this week, we have two public acknowledgements that I'm aware of that I will read, and Council, if you have any others, we can do them after that. I wish to rise and acknowledge that the week of June 16th to 22nd is proclaimed as the 26th annual Native Prairie Appreciation Week in the city of Moose Jaw. Native Prairie Appreciation Week has been proclaimed by the city since 2011 with the purpose of raising awareness and appreciation of native prairie ecosystems and their importance to Saskatchewan's environment and agriculture sectors. I'll just say if anybody's driven out in the prairies this year, this is the greenest it's been in many, many years. So our ecosystem is loving this rain. And I also wish to rise to acknowledge that the day of June 21st, 2024 will be proclaimed as National Indigenous Peoples Day in the city of Moose Jaw. This is our opportunity to learn about the cultural heritage of First Nations, Inuit and Métis people across Canada, especially for our young people, and will assist in creating harmony among all Canadians to promote a greater appreciation and acceptance of each other's point of view. And there is going to be quite an event on June 21st. See our website for details or talk to Ms. Haley Hart-Washenko. Are there any other councillors? Councillor Froese?
Thank you, Mayor. Canada was well represented by two Moose Jaw athletes at the International Powerlifting Federation World Championships held in Austin, Texas recently. Ms. Mava Bridges competed in the Master 3, the 60 to 69-year-old 76 kilogram equipped division. She took silver with a new national record bench press of 95 kilograms, which is 209 pounds. She was also part of the best Master 3 team that placed second in the team's competition. As well, Ms. Rhea Stin competed in the open 84 kilogram equipped category. She won gold with bench pressing 210 kilograms, which is 463 pounds. She also received third best lifter amongst all weight classes. As well, I would like to publicly acknowledge that the City of Moose Jaw helped the Royal Canadian Air Force in beating the Guinness Book of World Records for the most illuminated landmarks to celebrate their 100th anniversary. Landmarks had to be illuminated blue for 24 hours, and this was done on April the 1st. The previous record was 40, and they had 56 worldwide landmarks, including Niagara Falls, the Peace Tower in Ottawa, the Calgary Tower, and worldwide places like Seoul Tower in South Korea, the Tallinn Tower in Estonia, and of course Big Cliff, the City Hall Clock Tower here in Moose Jaw. So thank you to John Trott and Murray Rimmer for getting up on the roof of City Hall and recording the clock tower blue and sending it off to be part of breaking this official record. And lastly, later in our agenda, we will have a presentation from our Youth Advisory Committee. It is made up of representation from high schools across the city and Sask Polytechnique representatives. These students change every couple of years as they graduate, but one person has been part of this committee for years, and that is our Youth Advisory Facilitator, Mr. Lyle Johnson. As a retired drama teacher from Peacock High School, Mr. Johnson continues to have such a positive impact on our youth in our city, not just with this committee, but with so many other organizations he volunteers with. So Mr. Johnson provides guidance and wisdom to the members of the Youth Advisory Committee. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge him and thank him for everything he does. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Froese. I don't see any other public acknowledgements. Therefore, we'll move on with adopting our agenda. I'm sorry, with the adopting our minutes from the last meeting. I'll need a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of City Council held on Monday, May 27th, 2024 be approved and adopted. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Blanc, seconded by Councillor Looning. All in favor? That is carried. Is there any member of council required to declare pecuniary interest on any matter on the agenda this evening? I see none. Next, we'll move into public hearings. I'll need a motion that we move into the public hearing. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Eby, second by Councillor Looning. All in favor? That is carried. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to address City Council regarding bylaw number 5717, Traffic Bylaw Amendment 2024-1? I see nobody. Therefore, is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to address City Council regarding bylaw number 5722, Zoning Bylaw Amendment 2024-3? Nobody wishing to speak at this time. Therefore, I'll need a motion that the public hearing be closed and that the bylaws will be introduced and considered during the Committee of the Whole bylaws section of the agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Froese, seconded by Councillor Logan. All in favor? That is carried. Now we'll go into the Committee of the Whole. We need a motion that we go into the Committee of the Whole under the chairmanship of Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning to deal with original communications, delegations, and petitions. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Eby, seconded by Councillor Blanc. All in favor? That is carried. Councillor Looning, I will transfer the microphone.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. I'll call the Committee of the Whole to order. We have 4 items in Committee of the Whole this evening. The first is communication number 129 from the City Clerk's Office, a request to address the Youth Advisory Committee. Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Chair. I would move that representatives from the Youth Advisory Committee be allowed to address members of council.
All those in favor? That's carried. If you want to step to the podium, state your name for the record, and you have 10 minutes to present. Welcome.
Council, my name is Avery Surtees. I'm the chair of the 2023-2024 Moose Jaw Youth Advisory Committee and will be speaking on behalf of the Moose Jaw Youth Advisory Committee. Since October, we have met as a group once a month here at City Hall discussing a variety of diverse topics. As well, we have met in smaller groups outside of our scheduled meetings to talk about our different project ideas. The topics of these discussions included transportation, city programs, and mental health and addictions. Today we are presenting our ideas on city programs and how they relate to mental health. As youth, it is often hard for us to figure out what to do for fun in our free time. We often fall on the same thing for a solution. Hey Google, what can you do in Moose Jaw today? Unless you want to spend hours searching, the first link that comes up is TripAdvisor. This is great for the touristy every so often things, but not the everyday activities that will not break the bank. This leaves us bored and lost on what to do in our city and decreases community involvement. The problem we are trying to address is this lack of awareness regarding activities currently available in the city. Our solution to this is to create a public events calendar focused on youth aged 12 to 18. We would also like to host a citywide event focused on promoting activities and local businesses for youth. We are currently in conversation with the City of Moose Jaw's Parks and Recreation Department to create a series of calendars corresponding to each month of the year. Our goal is for the calendars to have a different theme corresponding to each month, with activities to go with the theme. These themes include local businesses, recreation, DIY activities, and entertainment. This will help solve the problem of what is there to do in Moose Jaw, as these themes and activities both give youth a variety of ideas of things to do within our community. This will help youth answer their question, what to do in Moose Jaw, by providing with a month's worth of entertainment, and it will increase city involvement by bringing support to both current and future programs. As well as our monthly calendars, we are discussing the idea of hosting a youth day targeted towards kids and teens ages 12 to 18. If the event were to take place in the summer, it could be used as a summer startup party for other City of Moose Jaw events such as parks programs and sidewalk days. We would hold the summer event in June at the Phyllis Dewar Outdoor Pool. Our goal for this event is to bring together the youth of Moose Jaw. Along with swimming, local businesses will be given the opportunity to come together, set up tables, and advertise their various products and services targeted towards youth. We are also considering hosting a second similar event 10 months later in April. This event will be held at the Yara Center. Instead of swimming, this indoor event would have turf/track activities. It will also include a job fair. This will give local teens a chance to seek out summer work and give local businesses and groups a chance to find enthusiastic young locals looking for work. Our overall goal is to build awareness and promote the different fun, low-cost activities available to the young people of Moose Jaw. This will not only provide a positive economic impact to the community by bringing more young people to the local businesses of Moose Jaw, but it will also benefit our citizens mentally by giving them a safe environment to meet new people, giving them more ideas for outdoor activities, and will keep them active in our community.
Hi there, counselors. My name is Austin Kretsch, and I am also part of the 2023-2024 Youth Advisory Committee, and I will be supporting the recreational activities by talking how mental health correlates to recreational activities. So starting off with why is recreation important to mental health, the link between addiction, crime, and recreation. The literature shows that youth participation in athletics has resulted in a decreased likelihood of risky behavior, and, from Dr. Mark Totten, points to several studies that show that individuals who participated in at least one extracurricular activity were less likely to drop out of high school and abuse substances. He also points to research showing that young people who have higher participation rates in recreational activities typically display fewer criminal behaviors in children, and youth who participate in structured sports have reduced rates of criminal arrest and antisocial behavior. If we really want to reduce crime and gang activity among our youth, we need to invest more in recreation. It is in best interest of everyone to do so. Shauna McKinnon in Recreation, Director of the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, Manitoba office. This comes as no shock to me, and probably not to the other members of the Youth Advisory Committee. As a young person who constantly witnesses addictions and mental illnesses firsthand throughout my peers, I have also witnessed just how much a sense of belonging in both physical and mental activity from recreation can help both teens and adults out of trouble, whether it be drugs or crime. One thing we can do is increase advertisement. We believe that advertisement of both the mental health institutions, which are already prevalent in our city, as well as the advertisement of the recreational activities within our city, will improve the overall attendance of these facilities and activities. We have recognized that there are several institutions in our city that fail to be recognized, and even more so with the youth of our city. Instead of creating more institutions, we believe the first step is to strategically advertise the pre-existing ones. Some forms of advertising that may reach more people in addition to the pre-existing ads are radio stations, billboards, social media ads, and school/work advertising. As for some statistics to support this idea, participants aged 15 and 16 in Denmark were analyzed while taking part in numerous leisure activities to see if it would affect mental health and addiction to substances. Results showed that engaging in multiple activities in a week led to high mental well-being and reduced odds of mental health problems. It also reduced the odds of using substances, but also for using substances as a coping method. Research from PubMed Central indicates that recreational activities have positively affected youth in numerous ways. Bardo and Compton found that physical activity in various forms has reduced marijuana and opioid use. Physical activity was used for adults at 25 to 40. It reduced their drug cravings, whereas little physical activity correlated to more drug cravings. Feldman and Majasko found a positive relationship between in-school and outside-of-school activities, which had a positive effect on substance use. They stated extracurricular activities promoted the development of appropriate pro-social and pre-adolescence and adolescence. It also reduces the likelihood of individuals partaking in risky behavior. 49% are less likely to use drugs, smoke, or drink to get drunk. 73% of parents believe sports help their child's mental health. 88% of parents say sports benefit the child's physical health. 55% say that sports help children academically, while 80% believe sports taught their kids discipline and dedication. 50% of adults who participate in physical activity believes it helps relieve stress and better for their mental well-being. Partaking in sports is associated with lower amount of stress and higher confidence, increased cognitive performance, increased physical health factors like bone health and weight status, and leads to greater leadership qualities. Statistics have shown us that kids who are able to partake in activities within their schools and city are more likely to stay out of trouble while improving their overall health. It has been shown that mental health and addictions directly correlate to recreational activities. If we can improve recreational activities, we can improve youth's lives and provide bright futures. It is our hope that by providing local youth with the opportunity to gather with others and become more involved in their community, providing better advertising for what is already available in our city, it will provide a positive impact on you both physically and mentally. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Surtees and Mr. Kretsch. Does council have any questions for our presenters? I must commend you. I'm wondering if Mr. Johnson was practicing timing your presentation because you had like a minute left. It was perfect. Any questions, council, for Councillor Blanc?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. I have the opportunity every so often in running into your facilitator, Mr. Johnson, and he always speaks highly of the committee, how passionate you all are for your work and some of the great ideas you come up with. So I just want to congratulate you and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Blanc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blanc. Mayor Tolley.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm interested because I think your generation goes to their phone and to the web for almost all your information. Are what you're telling us is that there's no or little or not enough information on the City of Moose Jaw's website? Should that be enhanced, and particularly how could we enhance it to make it more effective in getting information to your generation?
Of course. From my experience, it's been the only way I've found out what's going on in the city would be through the Tourism Moose Jaw's Instagram that they post weekly. And so it just and there's basically what I see when I look on Instagram is just the page, like the dates, and then just a lot of writing. And so I don't always have time to go through all that writing. And so I think in regards to the city website, if we could have a page dedicated just to things in Moose Jaw for the youth that we could click on, it'd be like a nice big title, say like with all the drop downs at the top, it's like youth in Moose Jaw. It'd make it a lot easier to find activities focused towards us.
Thank you. Thank you. That's something for administration to think about and work on. Thanks very much for that response.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. Councillor Froese.
Thank you. And thank you very much for your presentation and for all the work that you did on this. I know you were able to spend some time with our city staff through all this process. Just wondering if you might want to share with everyone kind of when we talk about trying to reach youth, because it's really difficult to try to advertise directly to your age category. Maybe you could comment on like which is the best social medias that you and your friends are on the most, and maybe that might be something we could explore as well.
So I would personally say probably Instagram. I know Snapchat is used lots, although it's hard to publicly advertise stuff because it's used more through connections. So Instagram is something that's used lots. And like Avery was saying about posting how she finds all that recreational activities on their Instagram, I also feel if we posted different mental health clinics and things to help with addictions, that would be one way we could get to reach to youth. Another thing would probably be more through schools, which I know you guys don't do much, but any type of advertisement through the school. In Central, there's only a very select few little pieces of paper hung up on the wall that recommend different mental health places and hospitals and things like that. But they aren't in places where many youth will get the chance to see them. So, like I said, I know you guys don't do that, but places like Instagram on your guys' page, I feel like it would very well benefit having places posted so that youth know where to go.
Excellent. Great. Thanks. And thanks again for your presentation. It was really good. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much for being here everyone, and thanks for the good work you're doing and all the suggestions you provided to us in the presentation.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have a
thank
great
you.
evening.
Have a good day.
Thank you. What are your wishes, Council? Councillor Blanc?
I would move the communication CC 2024-0129, request to address City Council Youth Advisory Committee be received and filed.
Okay, motion on the floor. All those in favor? That's carried. Next item in Committee of the Whole is communication number 128 from the City Manager's Office re the Moose Jaw Events Centre 2023 Annual Report. Do you have a lead in, Ms. Carmichael, or no? Okay. Ms. Fritzler, if you want to come to the podium and state your name for the record, even though I already said it, and you have 10 minutes to present. Oh, sorry, motion. We need a motion from Council first. Mayor Tolley?
Yeah, I'll move that Ms. Shauna Fritzler, General Manager of the Moose Jaw Events Center, be allowed to address members of the City Council to present the 2023 Moose Jaw Events Center Annual Report.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor? Thank you. My apologies to Council and to Ms. Fritzler. Forgot that I needed a motion to have you stand there. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Shauna Fritzler. I'm the GM at Moose Jaw Event Center. I think we're going to try and display parts of the report as I go through. I'm pleased to present this report today for our 2023 annual report of the Moose Jaw Event Center. Our team at OVG continues to be committed to surpassing the expectations for the City of Moose Jaw, our building tenants, our promoters, in making budget-conscious decisions, creating a very welcoming experience for our users and our attendees, and creating revenues for the building, which in turn can provide an economic impact to the community as well. 2023 was actually the first year Moose Jaw Event Center saw a full 12 months of events and programming since 2019, which is also since OVG received the management agreement, which was then Spectra. It was a very exciting year, bringing new events to the community, creating legacy, and it was also a year of transition and of change. The report highlights and outlines the continued hard work of the team at MJEC, leading to a successful year of hockey, curling, and more. It is with gratitude and thanks to the dedicated team at Moose Jaw Event Center who go above and beyond to plan, prepare, process, promote, execute all the activities and events that take place there, which in 2023 welcomed over 130,000 people through the doors. We can't do what we do without this hardworking group. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Mr. McIver for his dedication and contributions to the building and the community throughout his tenure. The Event Center does have several streams of revenue, and I'll just have a kind of a brief explanation of all those. We've got our meetings, banquet, conference spaces. We've got curling, we have food and beverage, our hockey arena, and our ticketing. So for our meeting and banquet spaces, in 2023, we saw 200 meeting days. That was an increase in overall hours of 750 hours of space booked. We welcome back our annual events, such as the Festival of Trees, Greek Night, graduations, the Warriors and Legends Hall of Fame banquet, the Moose Jaw District Sports Hall of Fame banquet, and also new partnerships were formed with hosting meetings and banquets with the PEO Sisterhood, as well as the Prairie Hearts Quilt Show. The Curling Center remains vibrant and active, with curling nights continuing to be very busy, with 11 leagues running through 6 days a week. Our Bonspiel weekends increased by 3 over the previous season, with the club hosting the Mixed Doubles Super Series for the first time, an event which is scheduled again for this fall. This event attracted teams from across Canada as well as 2 international teams. As well, the club hosted the U18 Provincial Championship between Christmas and New Year's. So my curling fun fact is that our curling rocks put on 14,000 kilometers over the course of the curling season, going up and down the ice, which is basically across Canada and back. So another highlight of our curling season was, of course, hosting the Canadian Wheelchair Curling Championship in March of 2023. This was the first time that this event had been held in Moose Jaw, and I can say that the athletes were so impressed and happy with the accessibility of the event center, the building and the curling center as a whole. It was very easy for them to get around the building, to get on and off the ice, and I've received lots of comments about that. And of course, this event culminated with our Team Saskatchewan 1 winning the national championship. Throughout our weeks of league play, you can go to the next one if you want. Throughout our weeks of leagues play this last season, we had theme weeks brought in to bring some fun and friendly competition through all the leagues between the teams to see who can come up and be the best dressed for the theme week. They did a Halloween week, Christmas week, they did a neon week, I think there was a beach, a Hawaii week, so lots of fun was had with that. When it comes to the arena ice, you can carry on. Yeah. When it comes to the arena ice, our hockey ice is always in demand. There was over 22 hours of arena ice that was booked in 2023 for all our rec hockey, minor hockey, figure skating, as well as many other groups that book in rush ice and special events throughout the hockey season and that when the ice is in. And that was an increase of over 600 hours of booked ice from the previous year of 2022. Our Moose Jaw Warriors are, of course, the major tenant in the building. So these numbers reflect more the 22-23 season, of course. There was 37 hockey games that were held, and we had an attendance of over 107,000 people into those games. The team advanced to the playoffs that season, but they were eliminated by the Winnipeg Ice during the second round. We're also home to the AAA Warriors, our AAA midget team. The 2022-23 season for them saw 28 games in the building with attendance of over 7,000 people. I think one of the pinnacle hockey events that we held in 2023 was, of course, the World Para Ice Hockey Championship. This made history for Moose Jaw and for the event center, as it was the first time it was ever held in Canada. In just over 70 days, the Event Center team executed the plan to welcome 8 teams from around the world. The economic impact on the community aside, hosting this event left a legacy for both the building and our community. The City of Moose Jaw has now acquired the Para Boards and Glass, allowing us the opportunity to host future Para events. And the community was exposed to a remarkable sport, which showcased these athletes' skills, which in my opinion, were just incredible. We also had the opportunities for some of our Saskatchewan para athletes to come to the rink, and they had the opportunity to be on the ice and interact with the players. So the economic impact for the community itself, for our businesses, was significant, but it also left a legacy for the building and just our community in general. It was a great event. That's what hosting an event of this stature does as far as exposure to our community and for our city and for the event center. When you got 2 million videos streamed around the world from Moose Jaw, 900,000 social media stream views, just the touch points and engagements just creates a huge impact on our city. We also had a couple other live events. One of the things we saw in 2023 was the promoters beginning to start planning and making preparations for live events to start touring again. In 2023, we hosted family shows of FMX and Rock Story. They were held in October and December. There was Skid Row and Buck Cherry that was originally scheduled in 2023, but was moved. The tour moved it to March of 2024. Another milestone for the Event Center was the preseason Saskatchewan West game, which was held in November. This was another sold-out event for the building. The energy was really electric during that game, and this was the first professional lacrosse game that was ever held in southern Saskatchewan. Another good revenue stream for the Event Center is, of course, our ticketing. SaskTix has continued to grow. It's an important revenue stream for the Event Center. Our ticket sales increased by 6% over 2022, which is very reflective of having that full 12 months of business under our belt for the year. There was 297 events ticketed through SaskTix with over 300,000 tickets sold. Now turning to food and beverage. A year and two of our food and beverage operations showed us why this is such an important revenue generator for the building, with gross revenue sales of $1.7 million. Some of our fun facts for food and beverage, if you get to the next slide there, is our Twizzlers. So we sold enough Twizzlers that would cover 36 city blocks, which is actually longer, I think quite longer than Main Street. If you just scroll down a little bit further, it talks about our French fries. Sold 7,000 pounds of French fries. So it's just fun to kind of see those numbers when it comes out like that in a big group. So, with the food and beverage also continued to offer food specials for our Warrior games. We brought in a couple new things in the fall, was our Friday night tailgates. Also new was our Snack Shack. So that was came to fruition for the start of our 23-24 season. It's located in the southeast corner of the concourse by the kids zone. It offers all the sweets and treats and ice cream. Was very busy and very well received. The Events Center also continues to put emphasis on our support local initiatives. With the Moose Jaw Co-op, the Moose Jaw Brewery, Family Pizza, Lions Creek, just to name a few, Prairie Bee Meadery, Prairie Janitorial, Cowboy Caviar. And so it's an important part of our business is to be able to support our local businesses as well. When you look down at our year-end pictures, the marketing of all our events is vitally important because people don't know what we're doing unless we can get it out there to everybody. The majority of the marketing is done through our social media accounts for the Event Center, for the Curling Center, and also SaskTix, as well as, depending on the show, if it's a live concert, also radio ads will be out on the radio stations as well. So those are just kind of some examples of different posts and what we do to market and advertise all the events. The Event Center also continues with its community support. In 2023, the Moose Jaw Event Center provided $38,875 back into the community. And this is through partnerships that come in for cleaning groups after our hockey games, to lay the floor decking over the ice and take it off, which can be at all hours of the night, like 2 in the morning or 6 in the morning, depending on the show that's going on. Also working with Touch a Truck, and the Smile Cookie Day as well, just for a few examples. And staying connected, significant announcements for big events leads to huge increase in our social media engagements and exposure to both the Event Center and the City of Moose Jaw. So when you consider the events that we did have this year, the Para, our concert announcements, the Rush game, all our regular socials that we have out there, like the increases in our touch points and the reaches were incredible, anywhere from 235%. I think if you scroll down a little bit more, over 630% for our reach. So the ability our city to be able to host these big multi-day events just does so much for the exposure that our city gets around the country and our province, the whole world. So also included is the audited financial statement, consolidated statement, which was completed by MNP again this year. Overall, the Event Center did come in under budget. The revenues, our food and beverage and our ticketing exceeded their budget, and they're just such important revenue drivers for the building. There's the next graph just shows a quick comparison of what our revenue and expense was comparing 2022 to 2023. So the column on the far left there, the revenue just showing 2022 to 23, an increase in revenue. Of course, oftentimes with that comes an increase in expense as well, but it's kind of tightened up a little bit. And then the far right column just shows the city funding year over year, 2022-23. This slide shows the breakdown of just the 2023 revenue expense, kind of in all those different revenue streams. So the MJEC, that includes everything within the arena, the meeting room rentals, large banquets would fall in that category. Of course, curling is curling. That's our food and beverage, where you can see the revenue generation there, as well as our ticketing. Overall, just using revenue versus expense, our cost recovery was 77.35%. And now we're almost halfway through 2024. It's already been an exciting year for the building. We've had 3 concerts. There's another one the end of this month. We've hosted multiple large banquets and gatherings. An incredible playoff run by the Warriors in that WHL championship. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this year, and we know we already have a big event coming in 2025. And so I'm looking to see where the future takes the building. So thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has some.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzler. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the successful year in many ways. Questions, Council? Comments? Councillor Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. Question for Ms. Fritzler, through you, Chair. First of all, thanks for the report. But in your report, you mentioned the Para Hockey Championship, and I believe we were told at one point that if we purchased the para boards and para equipment, that we would have a very, very good chance of hosting the para hockey again. That didn't happen. I wonder if you have speculation or an opinion why that may not have happened?
Yeah, I think Hockey Canada wanted the opportunity to host it in more than one location. We have been in contact with Mr. Robbins, who is our contact for the 2023 para, and we plan to be meeting with him later this fall to see what other events we can bring to Moose Jaw. Yeah.
Good, thank you. Also in your report, you mentioned that we are still looking for a sponsor for the MJEC, and that until we find one, we'll continue to use the MJEC. I just wondered if you could comment if there's anything on the horizon, and how important is that to us, I guess, as from a budget perspective with the event center.
Perhaps I can answer the question, Chair, through you to Councillor Robinson. I am overseeing the file for the naming rights, and we are in contact with the consultant that is looking into finding a partner for the Moose Jaw Event Center. In the last few weeks, there hasn't been any update other than the ones I gave to Council about a month ago, I believe.
Thank you. And finally, we hear a lot about the rigging, and just as the new general manager, just looking for an opinion on how important that is to us, and if we have it on our radar as far as getting installed in our Moose Jaw Event Center. Thank you, and thank you for your report.
Do we have someone who wants to answer that one from Councillor Robinson, or is that for Ms. Fritzler? Or?
Yes, it was, okay, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Thank
Fritzler.
you for the question. Yeah, the rigging still plays a very vital role in what shows we can, maybe not what shows we can bring to the event center, but it's part of the setup, right? We go through a lot of extra expense for every event that we host because we have to rent multiple 80-foot booms to be able to rig the shows. And in saying that, there's some promoters and bands and groups and artists that prefer not to go to event centers that do not have rigging because of that, because it's so much more work. And if they get the option to be able to go to a venue that has the rigging still or doesn't have the rigging still, there are definitely times I would say where they'll pick the venue that has the rigging still because their load in is so much easier.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Eby?
Thank you. Thank you for this report, and just want to say it's visually so great to have it laid out like this, and I know that it's been done in the past, but it looks really good. And the fun facts always make it a little bit more comprehensible what's happening there, so really appreciate those things. Cost recovery of 77.35% for 2023 is great. And as we know from previous report a couple weeks ago, it's looking even better for 2024. And that's just amazing and testament to you and to your team and your staff. And it's all great. And I just want my 3 favorite events of the year: Touch a Truck with my grandson, the Rush game, and World Para Hockey, of course, were phenomenal. So, and I know we'll see World Para here again. And good thing we didn't have them this year, because otherwise the Warriors would have been having to play somewhere else. So it worked out for the best. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eby. Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Chair. Well, thank you very much for the report. It is such a relief to have a normal report with normal financials, and to really have the whole COVID pandemic in our rear view as far as events and that are concerned. I just wanted to congratulate you on a really good year, you and your team, and all the diverse events. Councillor Eby mentioned Touch a Truck, which is, that's a really unique event. So we've got things for all ages throughout the year, which I think is really important as well. So I just really wanted to commend you and your team for all the work, and also probably to say I think I probably contributed to the Twizzlers extra blocks there too as well. That was really good illustration of that. So I appreciate that. I'm wondering how much popcorn you must go through too, probably truckloads of that. Yeah. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Ms. Fritzler? I don't see any. Thank you very much for being here. Councillor Eby?
I will move that communication CC 2024-0128 regarding the Moose Jaw Event Centre 2023 annual report be received and filed.
Okay. Motion on the floor. All those in favor? That is carried. Next item in Committee of the Whole is communication number 119 from the City Manager's Office re City Hall hours public access. Ms. Carmichael.
Good evening, Council. This report is to provide information that was requested by Council a few weeks ago regarding the City Hall hours. As Council knows, over the last several years, administration has worked with the team and with Council to improve and provide the best services that we can to residents in the city. We tried to, and we aim to have best possible convenience for the residents, the accessibility, and that the services are efficient. As we all know, unfortunately, COVID-19 changed the way we were doing business in a few different ways and accelerated the process there. So for sure, some advantages that we have of online services versus in-person services, and I would like to highlight 5 of the ones that I have listed in the report: the convenience, the cost efficiency, the accessibility, the flexibility, and of course the data management as we move forward and we want to understand the residents that come to City Hall, the data that is processed for all the transactions. For sure, when we have transactions that are done online, it really helps us. Since the change to the City Hall hours from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m., we've seen an increase in productivity for sure for our employees, because they have time in the morning and time at the end of the day that's solely dedicated to the work that they have. And we've seen a reduction as well in terms of security costs and overtime costs. And these benefits are not only for the finance department that has, of course, the community, the customer service reps, but also for the other departments that do have residents that go on a day-to-day basis for some services. We have listed on this in the report some of the several advantages of having the City Hall hours from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Anywhere from having time for our employees to balance the cash drawers at the end of the day, time in the morning to process all the overnight transactions that have occurred online. Some of the advantages as well are as simple as being able to have a team meeting with all the team members If we were open for longer hours, then we wouldn't be able to have all the employees of one department for a specific staff meeting. The number of customers that come in person to City Hall has decreased over the years, that's for sure. Many residents take advantage of the online services that we have. We have received a small number of complaints from some senior residents for sure, but we feel that the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Are still sufficient because oftentimes if there are seniors coming, they don't have the same time restrictions as some other residents in the city do have. So it is to be noted that even though City Hall is only open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., phone calls are taken from 8:15 a.m. till 5 p.m. for the entire length of the workday. And lastly, it is to be noted that we are open over lunch hour. Many businesses in town are not open over lunch hour, so for people that want to come to City Hall at that point, it is open for full business from noon till 1 p.m. We have added in this report the costs. Should council want to have different City Hall hours as opposed to what we currently have from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you have here, if we extend the hours from 8:15 to 5 p.m., there would be an increased cost in security, as well as if we extend from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., would see an increased cost of about $10,000. And additionally, we do have, so if we had a full day of 8:15 till 5 p.m., potentially on occasion some overtime costs depending on the how busy the staff would be during the day. So for the reasons that are mentioned in this report, administration would like to recommend to maintain the hours that we currently have at City Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Carmichael. Questions, council? Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. So it appears to me that these cost changes are mostly in security. So that brings me around to why do we still need the security? I believe when it was brought in, it was for COVID time with some of our public, I guess, being a little unruly. But do we still need them here? And further to that, is there an incident history? Do we have a history of incidents that they've stopped or prevented? Or I'm just wondering if we went back to the full hours and didn't need the commissioners, then we probably solved this problem with an increased cost.
Ms. Carmichael.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councillor Robinson. I think what we have seen in the news, especially, I believe it was a month and a half or 2 months ago, what happened at City Hall in Edmonton, where someone went in. We have seen it here actually at City Hall. I believe it was 6 weeks ago, where we had someone that just came and was airing in City Hall, upstairs in the offices. So for those reasons, we would like to maintain the security in the building to ensure that there's controlled access. I was at the City Hall in Saskatoon not that long ago, and there's a full controlled access to the offices in the building there. And so for those reasons, we would like to maintain the security here in City Hall.
Thank you. Can I just comment too? Sure.
Mr. Acker.
Thank you, Chair. If I can just add a couple of comments on that too. Just from the financial services perspective, what we've experienced is with the security in place, a significant change in behavior of general public dealing with our various employees. Much more respectful, much more just business-like in terms of that process. So there's been a marked increase in that. And then I think, too, as well, it comes down to safety of employees, not just employees in finance, but throughout City Hall. We need to know who's in this building. and who leaves this building at the end of the day or doesn't, or whatever times. So certainly I think when you come back to employee safety, security is very important, and certainly from the financial services perspective, it's had a real change in that very small group of customers who may cause issues. It's had a significant change in their behavior. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acker.
Further question then, Chair. My understanding too is the commissioners are observe only. So if there is an incident, how do they protect our staff? And you know, as far as I think this could all be solved, we could go back to those hours and have rotating staff. I did quite a bit of time in the restaurant hotel business, which was, by the way, also a service industry, much like our city should be. But, you know, we had people doing cash outs. We still had people on the floor, some people doing cash outs. We always had the customer covered, even though we were still doing the paperwork, answering inquiries, everything in the booking rooms, all in the background. But we had people preparing for their shift while other people were on their shift. So I think that could certainly be a solution here. And further, I just wanted, if we have any comments, I know there was a public poll, which is anecdotal, I guess, at best, but it was 86% in favor of going back to hours. Does that mean anything to us as councillors, that 86% of the residents that voted said, yes, we should go back to the old hours? Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Carmichael, do you have an answer to a couple of those or whatever? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I do not have the specifics on the poll. I know there was an online poll with a news outlet in the city. I did see that, yes, of the people that responded. I don't know how many people total responded to the poll, but I can communicate to council that at the city itself, we are receiving very few complaints about the hours.
Thank you, Ms. Carmichael. Any other comments, questions on this report? Councillor Blanc.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to administration. And I know the numbers were really down during COVID, and of course people are out more in all the events, even the event center mentioned that. Do we have an idea of how many people actually physically access City Hall on a weekly, monthly basis?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Through you to Councillor Blanc. We do not calculate. I did ask for the data. This is something that we're looking at doing in the future, unless our Director of Financial Services has otherwise, but we do not keep track of exactly the number of people that utilize the services here. I can tell you that online, for sure, we've seen an increase, but I don't have the actual data.
Mr. Acker.
Thank you, Chair. Just some comments, and City Manager's correct. We haven't kept those statistics. That's something we want to do going forward, but we noticed, obviously, like everyone with the pandemic, some very significant changes in how we did our operations. I mean, at one point we were totally closed. Since then, certainly the amount of traffic within our front end is not what it was prior to the pandemic. It's changed significantly. If I was to do an estimate, I would say it's down a third. And the reason it's down that much is because people have found alternative ways to do things. It's no different than myself personally. In terms of banking before, I would go to the bank maybe once a week. I might go to the bank once a year now. And it's very, very similar for a lot of things with City Hall. People found alternative ways to make their payments. You can make your payments online. You can make it at the Dropbox. There's just a whole bunch of different options for that. So I think that is one of the challenges we have going forward, is there are a number of services that we still have within City Hall that may require somebody to actually physically come down. I think I think all of those services can be made online, so people can access them online. Certainly if people want to come into City Hall to have those services in person, you know, that's why we have the hours we have. But I just wanted to note that significant changes since the pandemic, and certainly that customer load that was there before has not come back. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Just a comment, if I may, Chair. You know, I've had over the last number of years, or while I've been counselor, I guess I've had individuals say that, you know, they would like to go down to City Hall and pay a bill or ask an inquiry, but unfortunately it doesn't open till 10. So, you know, there is some difficulty. However, I understand the need for staff to be able to have some time ahead of time and at the end of the day maybe to finalize, because I see if the City Hall is open till 5 and people are in here at 5 minutes to 5, it might take time. But there was a couple options presented here. Number one, leave it status quo. Number one, move to the 8 to 5. And I believe the other one was go from 9 to 4. Is there any possibility even of maybe tweaking the hours a little bit? Like, I like the 9 to 4 personally, but maybe even having a couple days a week where it is open later for people that physically cannot get away and they have to come into City Hall, you know, 1 or 2 days a week. And I know that logistically that might be hard to kind of, you know, book and everything, but I was just curious if that was ever looked at.
Ms. Carmichael.
Thank you for the question, Chair. We did look at the possibility of having maybe 1 evening or 2 evenings a week, or at least going to perhaps 5 o'clock. Not that many requests have been received by administration for those timings. I know some people would like to have them. It is certainly the two options that we gave to council, that with the timings that are there, if you want to go to 4:30 or 5, that's certainly an option.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Blanc. Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Chair. So have we seen a decrease at all in citizens like making their way up to planning for things, or to engineering for things, or and that as well, or is it? I know it predominantly affects Mr. Acker's department, of course, being on the first floor. But have we seen any instances, or do people normally call and make appointments, or how does that work?
Ms. Sanson.
Thank you. We've seen probably a decrease of about a third since the pandemic. A lot of our permits are coming in online now, that there is the option to do that. So we are seeing most of our stuff come through electronically at this point, or lots of phone calls.
And same, I guess, for engineering, or?
Mr. Harleton.
Not something that I've discussed with my admin in terms of the people that are coming in for in-person and how that's changed over time.
Okay, and I was just wondering if you might have an idea of like when is your busiest time during the day? You know, are people showing up right at when the doors open and that, or are they lingering? Like, because I think that also is good to know about the times that you are opening access to.
Of note, we have virtual City Hall coming online. We have a new permit software that we're looking at. There's perhaps Parks and Rec that also has for cemeteries. You have people coming through. I don't know if Director Blais, if you can comment on people there.
Mr. Blais.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, regarding the cemeteries, I've asked staff numerous times here over the past few years if any complaints are being received about our cemetery hours, and we haven't received any to date. Much like other departments, a lot of the follow-up work when there's burials being scheduled, whatnot, is done through email or electronically. So our in-person visits haven't really been affected for the cemeteries as well.
Mm-hmm. And I also would note that on our city's app for request for service, there's hundreds and hundreds of requests that you can see. You can see, just open it up. Anybody can take a look and see the map and the list too. So that's accessible all 24 hours. So I guess kind of my point being here is like, for one thing, if we were to look at changing this, it affects our budget. So we'd have to ask, where are we going to get the money for this? My other question would be, I guess, to Mr. Acker, would this require, if we extended the hours, would this require hiring additional staff? Because we haven't been operating at these hours for quite a while. So would we have to hire additional people?
Mr. Acker.
Thank you, Chair, through you to Councillor Froese. No, we were able to do it before, but what we would see is a significant decrease in our productivity. Like we found in both ends of the day, we have significant increases in productivity. We can redirect people to things that need to be done, maybe in a more timely manner. We're more efficient in those things, but we certainly did it before. One of the things we would see, though, if we went to the 8:15 to 5, would be that overtime. There was $5,000 to $6,000 worth of overtime for the cashing out and that sort of thing. That no doubt would come back. So thank you.
Thanks. And the other thing I just wanted to mention here too is a few years back, council was looking for efficiencies, and one of the areas that we looked at was garbage, and it was just a simple moving from the back alley to the front alley, and so we had an extreme amount of engagement with people about that, and the conversation obviously came up about the level of service you want to provide and what do the citizens want or feel that they should have. And the majority of those people that we heard of, and the gallery here was full and everyone's emails were full and lots of phone calls to have that service returned back to the alleyways. And that was an $80,000 save that we were trying to do there. And my point about this is that, it's about what the citizens want when it comes to level of service and that. And I don't really feel like we've heard from enough people that want us to change the hours back because, as a result of the pandemic, we've actually opened up way more ways to get in touch with anybody at City Hall and within this time frame. And there's been a very small amount of complaints. And I really haven't heard from very many people at all on this issue. So, I kind of ask myself, does the general public really want to see us change this back? Is this something they really desire? Because when it was the garbage issue, this was a packed gallery and it was full on engagement with our citizens on that issue. But I really don't see that with this and that. So those are just my comments for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Eby.
Thank you. Well, my comments on this are, I don't think that these hours that we're currently at diminish the level of service that is able to be provided to City Hall. Or at City Hall, people are still able to call, email, and be here by 10 a.m. and the idea that City Hall is open over the lunch hour. Everybody who works gets lunch, and if they're working 12 hours, they're not working every day of the week. So people have opportunity to access City Hall, and I actually would even hazard a guess that there might be a higher increased level of service with some of the things that are able to get done in those shoulder times. My job's completely different than anyone's here, but if I have someone show up at my house at my place of business at 8 o'clock in the morning and I wasn't expecting them till 8:15, it throws my day out of whack. There takes a little bit of time. And if you have people walking in the door of City Hall to start work at 8:15 and the door to City Hall opens at 8:15, it makes it pretty crazy. So I'm comfortable with this, and so therefore I'm going to make the motion that City Hall business hours for in-person access only continue as 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, excluding statutory holidays.
Thank you, Councillor Eby. Councillor Logan.
Thank you, Chair. Just comments through you. A couple things that I heard in the last few minutes here, just kind of listening and writing some notes. One of the city administration mentioned something that the patrons with the security or business like, which is great, and we certainly want to see that. But I think to be business-like, we need to be open, in my opinion, a little longer, much like a regular business with 11,000 customers paying taxes. So I personally would support longer hours, and if it wasn't the 8:15 to 5 thing, maybe 9 to 4:30 at the very least, and just see how it went. The other thing I heard was traffic was down, but we're also closed for 3 hours, longer than we were in the past. So of course traffic's going to be down when you're not open for those 3 hours. So That's a tough one for me to buy, honestly, but, so I won't support this motion. I'd like to see it open a little longer myself, much like other businesses around town. I get both sides. I mean, I certainly, at our place of business when we're closed, that's when I probably get the most done. But we like to see those people come in, and we need to make arrangements when they do. So from a business perspective, I think I would support the longer hours. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Tolley.
Through you, Chair, to administration, if in fact this motion passes and for now we continue with the 10 to 4, if I was a developer approaching the city of Moose Jaw, a builder, and I wanted to talk to somebody in planning, could I call and make an appointment and come in before 10 or after 4? I mean, I think what we're talking about is mostly the people that are receiving payments on the main floor. But I guess I'd like to know that if in fact I vote for this and we retain this, at least on a temporary basis, that somebody wants to develop something in the city of Moose Jaw and wants to approach City Hall about that, would they be able to call and make an appointment and get that service?
Ms. Carmichael.
Thank you for the question. Through your chair to Mayor Tolley. Absolutely. And we do it currently. I will let the Director of Planning and Development talk some more about it. But many of us book appointments before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. for various meetings or for meeting with residents. So this is something that we absolutely continue. As Mayor Tolley, as you noted, yes, the hours are strictly for just walking in and being able to see someone. But outside of those hours, if someone phones and would like to come in between 8:15 and 5 p.m., that is certainly something we can do.
Ms. Sanson.
Thank you. Yeah, in addition, and we would just meet them at the front door. As long as we know they're coming, we'd walk them down, open the door for them, and have them come in. But absolutely, we would meet with anybody that asked to meet outside those hours.
Okay. Madam Chair, if you'd allow me another question, then. It seems to me we're trying to make a decision, and we've got a pretty full bit of information from administration about how they see this, pros and cons. I'm not sure we know for sure what the community, we've got an informal poll done by a media outlet. We've got people who have landed on each side and given us some feedback. Would there be some possibility for the city to do some kind of a polling or figure out, is this a problem for anybody? Is there some way forward that would give us more concrete information about, are we holding back business? Are we causing a problem for businesses by not being open for the full day? Is there something we could do as an administration?
Ms. Carmichael.
Thank you for the suggestion. I was just talking to Director Acker to see how we could do it. I was just, as we were discussing, I did pull up the Moose Jaw Today poll on the City Hall hours. It depends how it was conducted. I'm not 100% sure. Certainly at the city, we can look at how we would do a poll like this or get the information. If that's council's wishes, we can certainly look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. I'll move to you, Councillor Frozen, then I'm going to pass the gavel briefly. You've already spoken, but go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Just through you to maybe Mr. Acker. So if we were to proceed with extending hours right now, where would we pull the funds from?
Mr. Acker.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councillor Froze. Unfortunately, we're partway through the budget year, so there's no budget allocation for that. The only area we would find that additional monies we would have to have savings in some other areas. So otherwise, it would add to our potential deficit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acker. Well, I mean, again, like I said, the level of service, and I think it's a good idea to try to engage maybe more citizens to find out. But I think this discussion is better to be had at budget time. It gives a lot more time for consultation. And just out of curiosity, Chair, through you to administration, how many people did the poll? Like when you say 80%, it makes it sound like it's a a lot of people, but how many people actually were on the poll? Does it say how many people filled it out? How many?
Ms. Carmichael.
Thank you. From what I have here online, there were a total of 825 votes. We would have to ask if people were able to vote twice, perhaps. So of the 825, 709 did vote 40 hours to be 8:15 to 5 p.m.
So yeah, so like again, like I'm not opposed to consulting with citizens on this to see if there's a greater amount of people, but I think we also have to be cognizant that, as Mr. Acker said, we're right in the middle of budget, and where are we going to get this money when we know we're going very close to our budget line already, and that. So I think that's also a part of it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Froese. I'll just pass the gavel briefly for a moment. And I'm not going to, because I'm actually very surprised that this discussion has gone on as long as it has. And all I'm going to say is that I do understand that some people do still, our citizens would like to come down in person, pay a water bill, that sort of thing. I absolutely understand that. However, I do know that times have changed, and that as time goes on, more and more and more services, as Mr. Acker pointed out, are going to move online. City administration is not inaccessible. They've already mentioned that they're taking phone calls, emails are available. What I have more of a concern about is how accessible our website is and how easy it is to maneuver around, and that's a discussion for another time. But I am absolutely going to vote in favor of this motion. I think it covers the times that, as Councillor Eby pointed out, that people can come in and do that if they want, but I'm going to stand behind Mr. Acker and say it's very rare that I'm ever in a bank for any personal reasons either, and that's been years for me. Now, I'm not saying that that's how everybody is doing it. I understand that. However, I do agree with leaving the hours the way they are, 10 to 4, and for now, I think we're okay with that. So that's just my opinion. I'll take the gavel back. Any other comments or questions from Council? Councillor Logan.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick comment through you to anyone listening. I actually tried to vote twice. You can't. on the poll, I tried a couple of times to vote twice, and you cannot. One time only.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Any further comments or questions from Council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Up high, please. Okay, and opposed? That is carried. Next item in Committee of the Whole is communication number 123 from the Secretary, Development Appeals Board, re-record of decision of the Development Appeals Board. Ms. Lugren.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you. On May 21st, 2024, the Development Appeals Board heard 2 appeals for development permit denials regarding variances to the City of Moose Jaw's zoning bylaw number 5346. The decision of the board for each appeal was to grant each respective appeal before you. As per legislative requirements of the Planning and Development Act 2007, decisions of the Development Appeals Board are required to be transmitted to Council. Communication 2024-0123 submits to Council the May 24th, 2024 Notice of Decisions of the Development Appeals Board to be received and filed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lugren. Councillor Eby.
Thank you. I'm going to make this motion, and then I do have a comment. I will move that the following decisions of the Development Appeals Board be received and filed. 04-2024 Darrell Duckworth, 305 Caribou Street West, and 05-2024 Craig Hill, 336 Hochelaga Street West. And just my comment is that, we don't have any mechanism to change these, but I did note in the report that in one of these cases, there were a couple of very strong letters and presentations of concerns and opposition to one of these appeals, and yet the board saw fit to grant it. So just, I think that that's notable. Anyways, I so move the motion.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? I think that's carried. Where did Councillor Logan go? I don't know how that works when somebody's, I guess she's just absent. So yeah, okay. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council, your Committee of the Whole begs to report as follows. That's old school words, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Looning. Councillor Looning's moved that we adopt the Committee of the Whole. She's moved that the report of the Committee of the Whole be taken as read, received, and adopted. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Blanc, all in favor? That is carried. Next, we have reports of standing committees of City Council. Need a motion on the report of the Executive Committee, meeting dated May 27th, 2024, be taken as read. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Logan, second by Councillor Looning. All in favor? That is carried. Next, I'll need a motion that the report of the Personnel Committee, meeting dated May 27th, 2024, be taken as read. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Blanc, second by Councillor Robinson. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we'll move into matters arising from reports of standing committees. Do any councillors wish to bring forward an item from the Executive Committee meeting, the minutes of May 27th, 2024? I'm seeing none. Therefore, I'll need a motion that the report of the Executive Committee meeting dated May 27th, 2024 be received and adopted. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Froese, seconded by Councillor Robinson. All in favor? That is carried. Do any councillors wish to bring forward an item from the Personnel Committee meeting minutes of May 27th, 2024? I'm seeing none. Therefore, I'll need a motion that the report of the Personnel Committee meeting dated May 27th, 2024 be received and adopted. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Blanc, seconded by Councillor Looning. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we have reports from advisory and other committees. We have a report of the Heritage Advisory Committee. The minutes are from May 15th, 2024. That'd be Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no approval of council required for these minutes, but I just wanted to publicly thank the owners of the CP Rail Station and the Clock Tower, and a thank you to Jerry Heilman and to the property manager Peter Day, who invited us and allowed us to hold our Heritage Advisory Committee at the station, which was really good. And then we got a really good tour of the entire building. So that was really generous of them, and it was really nice to be able to go out and actually host a Heritage Advisory Committee meeting in a heritage building outside of the City Hall. So thanks very much for that. I would move that the minutes of the Heritage Advisory Committee meeting held May 15th, 2024 be received and adopted.
Second by Councillor Eby. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we have a report of the Cultural Diversity Advisory Committee. The minutes are from May 22nd, 2024. Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Mayor. There is no approval required from council, but I just wanted to highlight just two quick things. As the Mayor did a public acknowledgement regarding the National Indigenous Peoples Day that's happening on June 21st. It starts at 10 and goes till 3 p.m. As well, the Cultural Action Plan is going to be completed, and I just wanted to maybe ask Director Blais through you, Mayor. It's supposed to come to us in June, and if he could maybe provide a date when that will come to council.
Thank you for the inquiry. I did notice that in the minutes. It won't be coming in June. There's still a number of consultation activities that need to occur, and we're just trying to figure out the timing of those. So likely push back to the fall.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to double check. I didn't quite think we were quite there for that. So thank you. So I move that the minutes of the Cultural Diversity Advisory Committee meeting held May 22nd, 2024 be received and adopted.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Logan. All in favor? That is carried. Does any member wish to rise to bring forward a notice of motion this evening? Councillor Looney? No?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was wondering why
Okay, no problem. No problem. There are no motions this evening. We'll move into bylaws. So our first bylaw is that we'll need a mover and a seconder that Deputy Mayor Councillor Looney be allowed to introduce bylaw number 5717, Traffic Bylaw Amendment 2024-1. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Blanc, second by Councillor Eby, all in favor? That is carried.
Thank
Councillor
you, Mayor.
Looney.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. Should have just left it on.
Yeah.
My microphone on. The purpose of this proposed bylaw is to amend bylaw number 5556, traffic bylaw, to allow for updates and changes as per council resolutions. I will note that included in this bylaw is the change of school zones from 40 kilometers an hour to 30 kilometers an hour between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
We'll need a mover and a seconder that bylaw number 5717 be now read a first time. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Froese. Councillor Blanc seconded. All in favor? That is carried.
Bylaw number 5717, traffic bylaw amendment 2024-1.
I will need a mover and a seconder that bylaw number 5717 be now read a second time. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Logan, second by Councillor Froese. All in favor? That is carried.
Bylaw number 57.
I'm sorry, Your Worship. If I may have clarification, I do believe that Councillor Robinson did not raise his hand when you said carried. Could you just clarify if
Okay, we had
all in favor and all who's opposed, please?
On the first reading, sorry.
Okay, so is this on the first reading or the second reading?
I'm sorry, Your Worship. It would be the second reading, please.
Okay, and on the second reading, I had a mover and a seconder for Councillor Logan and Councillor Froese, I believe. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? That is carried. Oh, sorry. And I'll need a mover and a seconder that we now go into the committee of the whole under the chairmanship of Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning to consider bylaw number 5717. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Blanc, second by Councillor Froese. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Yes.
Councillor Looning.
Your Worship, I do believe you have forgotten the be now read a second time.
I'm sorry. Yes, it was passed, and I did not ask Councillor Looning to read it a second time.
Yes.
My fault. Would you please do that, Councillor Looning?
Do you think you need to move it? You need to move it?
We had a mover and a seconder, and we had a vote, and it passed.
Bylaw number 5717, traffic bylaw amendment 2024-1.
Now I'll need a mover and a seconder that we go into the committee of the whole under the chairmanship of Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning to consider bylaw number 5717. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Eby, seconded by Councillor Blanc. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Looning.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. I'll call the meeting of Committee of the Whole to order. Are there any council members who wish to speak respecting this proposed bylaw? Councillor Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. I just would like to say, very difficult bylaw to vote against when it's portrayed as, safety for our children. However, I think it could be rolled out better in that we are going to change signs in 4 school districts or 4 school zones that are going to be no longer school zones a year from now. So I would have rather seen those school zones left out. Certainly it's been 40K for a number of years. I don't think one more year would have made that much difference. But that's my take on it. Thank you.
Nope, there I am. Okay, great. Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting this bylaw. I think we've done a considerable amount of consultation with the public. We have endorsements from Public Works, from our accessible community advisory committees. We've had endorsements from obviously Prairie Soul School Division and I believe Holy Trinity as well. And I think we've clarified that the sign changing amount of budget is a smaller portion to the budget overall, and that those signs absolutely need to be changed and updated regardless of whether we're changing the school zones. But I think also changing the speed limit in school zones just makes it safer in general for our children and for the schools that are closing when the new school opens. Maybe we can take those signs and use them for the brand new school area as well, so they can be recycled and that. So I think this is a great traffic bylaw, and I think our staff and the community have done a lot as far as engagement and endorsing the details in this bylaw. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to Councillor Logan?
Thank you, Chair. Just some comments through you. I'll be supporting this motion. As I've said before, when it was coming before us in executive, I believe it was, I will be supporting this. I had a few calls either way, some in favor, some against. And honestly, the ones against were simply because they couldn't afford the extra 10 seconds. I suggested maybe they leave a little earlier. I don't see an issue with it myself, so I'll definitely be voting in favor of this change. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Blanc.
Thank you, Chair. A couple comments. I too have received a few calls and emails from people in favor of it saying it's a good idea, and other ones that are saying they're upset to it because they feel it's going to take too much time. But I think people are forgetting one issue here. It's not just the speed, it's the signs themselves. They're all over the map. Some are, I've driven around the city and looked at them. Some are very close to schools. Others are blocks away. Some of them are so small you can hardly read them. Some are so faded you cannot read them. So, I mean, the signs have to be changed at some point anyways to bring them up to code. That's the first issue. The second issue is I mentioned it in one other meeting, is the parking in front of schools. There's too many parents that are parking in front of schools, and it is a hazard for other kids walking out because they're right in front of the crosswalk. So I will be supporting this. And as Councillor Robinson said, yes, there's some schools that are going to close in a year, but most of them schools still have playgrounds at those locations. So that's something we have to take into account. So I will be voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Logan.
Thank you, Chair. One more quick point I forgot. Most of the folks that called in favor were in favor, but they also stressed that we must enforce these rules once we place the signage and once we have things in place. So I'm hoping that once the signs are up and everybody's had a bit of a grace period, that we start enforcing these rules, and that hopefully everyone will buy in. So thank you.
Thank you. Right. I now need a mover, Councillor Eby, that clause by clause consideration of the bylaw be and is hereby dispensed with, and that the said bylaw be approved in its entirety. All those in favor? And opposed? That motion is carried. Your committee of the whole to consider bylaw number 5717, traffic bylaw amendment 2024-1, begs to report that the bylaw passed this committee without amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Looning. We'll need a mover and a seconder that the report of the committee of the whole be received and adopted. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Logan, second by Councillor Froese. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we'll need a mover and a seconder of the bylaw number 57. Oh, we can't read it. I'm sorry? It's on. Yeah. Okay. Madam City Clerk, I don't proceed to third reading, right?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, you proceed to be submitted for third reading. It is actually not being read. It is the consent to read it at this meeting.
Okay, so we'll need a mover and a seconder that bylaw number 5717 be submitted for third reading forthwith. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Eby and Councillor Blanc. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Madam City Clerk, then it just sits like that until our next meeting.
Yes, Your Worship, it's carried but not unanimously, so it'll be carried forward to the next meeting of City Council.
Thank you for the reminder. Okay, the next order of business is our procedure paper for bylaw number 5722. We'll need a mover and a seconder that Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning be allowed to introduce bylaw number 5722, zoning bylaw amendment 2024-3. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Froese, second by Councillor Logan. All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. The purpose of the proposed bylaw is to change the zoning of lots 48 to 52, block 26, plan N4537, extension 0, civically known as 1345 Algoma Avenue, from R3, high density residential district, to R4, core mixed residential district, and from R3 F1, high density residential district, and F1 flood fringe overlay district, to R4 F1, core mixed residential district, and F1 flood fringe overlay district. Don't ask me to repeat that.
Thank you, Councillor Looney. We'll need a mover and a seconder that bylaw number 5722 be now read a first time. Moved by Councillor Eby, second by Councillor Blanc. All in favor? That is carried.
Bylaw number 5722, zoning bylaw amendment 2024-3.
And we'll need a mover and a seconder that we now go into the committee of the whole under the chairmanship of Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning to consider. No? I've got to read it second.
Part C.
Thank you. Strange night out here today. Yes, we'll need a mover and a seconder that bylaw number 5722 be now read a second time. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Froese, seconded by Councillor Logan. All in favor? That is carried.
Bylaw number 5722, zoning bylaw amendment 2024-3.
And we'll need a mover and a seconder that we now go into the committee of the whole under the chairmanship of Deputy Mayor Councillor Looning to consider bylaw number 5722. Moved by Councillor Eby, seconded by Councillor Blanc. All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. I will call the meeting of Committee of the Whole to order. Are there any council members who wish to speak respecting this proposed bylaw? Councillor Froese.
Thank you, Chair. Lights off. There we go. Great. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I will be supporting this bylaw this evening. I think this is a great use, having residential over retail in this area on Algoma Street. We're obviously seeing an increase of students at Sask Poly, and we need housing, so that solves that. And of course, having an amenity like a retail store also will help the residents in this area. So I will be supporting this bylaw. Thank you, Chair.
There we go. Councillor Blanc has moved that clause-by-clause consideration of the bylaw be and is hereby dispensed with, and that the said bylaw be approved in its entirety. All those in favor? That's carried. Your Committee of the Whole to consider bylaw number 5722, zoning bylaw amendment 2024-3, begs to report that the bylaw passed this committee without amendment.
Councillor Looning has moved that the report of the Committee of the Whole be received and adopted. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Logan, all in favor? That is carried. And we'll need a mover and a seconder. The bylaw number 722 be submitted for third reading forthwith. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Froese, seconded by Councillor Looning. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Therefore, we'll need a mover and a seconder.
Your Worship, may I just have a clarification on that vote, please?
Okay. We're re-voting on a moved and seconded motion that bylaw number 5722 be submitted for third reading forthwith. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried unanimously. We'll need a mover and a seconder to the bylaw number 5722 be now read a third time, adopted, signed by the mayor and the city clerk, dated and sealed. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Eby, seconded by Councillor Blanc. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Bylaw number 5722, zoning bylaw amendment 2024-3.
Are there any inquiries to be asked of City Administration this evening? Councillor Looney?
Thank you, Mayor Tolley. I have two verbal inquiries. The one, though, if it needs a little bit more, I did submit it in the e-scribe if it needs to be written. But the first one is, I'll ask the simple one first. Do the presentations that when we have a presenter at the podium, do those show on Shaw? The presentations?
Thank you, through you, Council, to Councillor Looning. Regarding the presentations on Shaw, we were informed that Shaw was streaming off the city's live stream feed. The city clerk's office will, though, however, confirm if Shaw is seeing those presentations. If not, we will work to rectify that information and fix the issues. However, I will let the public know as well that if there's any presentations that they're needing, they are available on the city's website, but you are more than welcome to contact the city clerk's office and we will get that information for you.
Excellent, thank you. My next inquiry is about, to administration, is about Thatcher Drive between 9th Avenue Northwest and 11th Avenue Northwest. I know that was recently repaved, I think it was last year. But I've had a couple of inquiries. There's some cutouts there, like it looks like something else has been done and the pavement has been like, it's either sinking or it's been cut into to fix something and then repaved over something. There's about 4 or 5 spots that are kind of dipped, and I'm just wondering if we know what that is or what happened there on Thatcher. And this is the one that is in the e-scribe. If it needs to be written, we can leave it and it can come back next if there isn't an answer tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Harleton, is there a response?
Thank you, Chair. Work occurred in 2023 on Thatcher to rectify some deficiencies from the previous year's contract, and that work was funded from the deficiency holdback from the prior year. So that is the work that I'm aware of on Thatcher. If there are other, if there's a request for me to go to have a look and provide a report back as per the road condition, I could do that, but that's the most recent work on Thatcher.
If I could, maybe I'll just leave it as written and then we can get an update, please. Thank you.
Okay.
May I ask a clarification? Is it in the north lanes or the south lanes?
Yes.
No, north.
I
Okay.
did put that in that it's on the north side of
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll look at a written response to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Logan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Inquiry through you again to Director Harleton. My apologies to Director Harleton for bombarding him here this evening. As a city, we seem to charge a little more than other centers for water and sewer line replacements if a line fails to a residence. And my question is this work considered a profit line item or is it a cost recovery line item in our budget?
Thank you for the chair. Or thank you for the question, Chair. So that work is cost recovery. We don't seek to gain any additional funds from that work.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Eby.
Thank you. I was happy to see that Main Street is open and repaved. It looks beautiful. Just wondering what the timeline is for the River Street portion of that project.
Mr. Harleton.
We run about 6 to 8 weeks per block, so I believe that location is 2 blocks. So from the time we turned east, approximately 12 to 16 weeks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Councillor Blanc.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to administration, I've had 2 residents contact me and have had something happen to them I've never seen happen in the city. And both of them were on Salt Hill. They were parked where apparently signs were up for street cleaning, and they both received a $90 ticket for parking. And I've never seen that in the past. The sweepers have always gone around, and I don't oppose the tickets. I'm just curious if this is a new initiative or if they're just getting caught up. Thank you.
Mr. Harlson, would you like to try that, or?
I wouldn't. I don't know I couldn't speak to the connection between operations and bylaws or how those requests would have come to be on behalf of the enforcement side.
City Manager?
If I can, thank you, Chair. We can certainly look into it and submit a written answer, because when I did look into it about 2 weeks ago, there was another question from another councillor. The response that I had from operations was we were not ticketing at the time. So we can ask for the specifics on those ones, the dates, and then we can give you a full written response if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blanc. Councillor Robinson?
Thank you, Worship. And I think this question's kind of along the lines of Councillor Logan's, but I'm wondering if I could have a breakout of the labor and materials cost in excavation, backfill, surface work, etc., for a sewer line replacement on a typical, let's say, northwest area, let's say Brown Street, or Gray Street, that type of thing. And also if I can have the interest rate and extended cost for this replacement, both cost to the city and the property owner. Thank you.
Okay. I think Councillor Robinson, the city director of operations, just said that there's no profit involved in it, and that the costs were passed on to the property owner. Is that correct?
Yeah, that work is done on a cost recovery. Okay. Yeah, I think that the question's a fair one and should be answered, and I'll do so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. There is one answer to written inquiry regarding the City of Moose Jaw's workers' compensation burden, and that response was provided to Councillor Robinson. Did you want an opportunity to comment?
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you. Thanks again, Your Worship, and thanks to administration for this report. Just without going through it line by line, there's some things that are very concerning to me. One is our 2024 premium is now $630,000, and it was $230,000 in 2018. So we've seen quite a large increase. And also, I'm seeing the 2023 typical lost time at 20 weeks. Yeah, so I really think this deserves a deep dive by our administration to see what the heck's going on here. But thank you.
City Manager, would you like to comment?
We can certainly look further into it. We have been discussing with both HR and on the financial side the increase. It is something that I believe was briefed to council with the changes with the Moose Jaw Police Service as well. But if there's more questions, we can certainly look into it.
Okay, thank you. That's it for our regular City Council meeting for this evening. The next meeting of City Council is scheduled for Monday, June 22nd, 2024. And with that, we're adjourned. Short recess, and we will have executive committee.